Ice Skating Machine 1. Afternoon, the three girls who live with Gru, Margot, Edith, and Agnes, were playing outside. While walking around the neighborhood, Agnes suddenly spotted a pair of old ice skates lying near the sidewalk. Excited, she picked them up and ran home to show her sisters. The three girls looked at the skates with curiosity, but they quickly realized there was nowhere to skate since there was no ice or snow outside. When they brought the skates into the laboratory, the Minions immediately gathered around to look. One curious Minion picked up the skates and suddenly had an idea. If there was no ice outside, why not make ice inside the lab? The Minions became very excited and quickly ran to ask Dr. Nefario for help. After hearing their idea, Dr. Nefario laughed and decided to build a machine that could turn the floor into ice. He assembled several cooling devices, connected wires, and placed the machine in the middle of the laboratory. When the machine was turned on, cold air spread across the room. Slowly, the laboratory floor began to freeze into a smooth sheet of ice. The Minions cheered with excitement. One Minion quickly put on the ice skates and carefully stepped onto the frozen floor. At first he wobbled a little, but soon he started sliding across the lab. Within moments, the entire laboratory turned into a chaotic indoor ice rink full of laughter. Minions were sliding everywhere, bumping into each other, falling down, and getting back up again. Suddenly, one Minion slid too quickly and crashed into a group in front of him. Everyone collapsed into a big pile of icy floor. For a few seconds, they all lay still. Then the whole group burst out laughing. The three girls laughed along with them, while the Minions lay scattered across the ice, laughing and catching their breath. Banana Car Race. Inside Gru's laboratory, a group of Minions are busy experimenting with bananas. Kevin squeezes a banana into a small machine and watches banana juice flow into a glass container. Stuart sniffs it and makes a disgusted face, while Bob happily claps his hands. Suddenly, Kevin gets an idea. He quickly sketches a banana-powered race car on a board. The Minions' eyes light up, and they all shout together, "Banana!" Instantly, the lab turns into a chaotic workshop. One Minion attaches wheels to an office chair. Another stuffs a bunch of bananas into a fuel tank. Stuart puts on safety goggles, but accidentally installs the exhaust pipe backwards. Within minutes, three strange banana cars are ready. Kevin raises a flag made from a banana peel and shouts, "Go. Ready, go!" The three cars shoot down the hallway of Gru's base. Stuart's car moves incredibly fast, but the banana engine begins spraying banana juice behind it. Another Minion slips on a banana peel that falls from Stuart's car and spins around like a top. At the next turn, Bob's car starts shaking violently. Bob laughs while driving, but the banana fuel tank begins to swell bigger and bigger. Banana! Uh-oh! Boom! Bob's car explodes into a cloud of banana foam. Bananas splatter everywhere across the hallway. The other Minions slip and fall one after another like dominoes. One car loses control and crashes straight into a tall stack of bananas. Bananas roll everywhere. At that exact moment, Gru steps out of the elevator. He stands still for a few seconds, staring at the scene. Minions lying everywhere. The floor covered in bananas. And one banana car still spinning its wheels on the ceiling. Gru sighs. Minions! A Minion suddenly slides past him on a banana peel. Gru closes his eyes and shakes his head. Clean it up, all of it. Gru is holding a mop and cleaning a massive pile of bananas. Behind him, a Minion secretly finishes building Banana Car 2.0.
Minion Soccer Match. One day in the laboratory, a Minion found a soccer ball and began kicking it around excitedly. At first it was just a little fun, but the ball quickly bounced everywhere, off tables, walls, and machines. Suddenly, the ball flew straight into one of Dr. Nefario's machines. The machine sparked and began making strange noises. Another kick sent the ball crashing into a pile of equipment, causing tools and parts to scatter across the floor. Just then, Gru walked into the lab and saw the chaos. The Minions froze. Gru sighed, picked up the soccer ball, and walked outside to the yard. The Minions followed him curiously. Instead of getting angry, Gru placed the ball on the grass and decided to organize a soccer match so the Minions could play without destroying the lab. The Minions quickly split into two teams. Some tied colored cloths around their heads to tell the teams apart. Everyone lined up, ready to play. The match began, but instead of playing properly, the Minions immediately ran wildly after the ball. Whenever the ball rolled somewhere, the entire group rushed toward it at the same time. They bumped into each other, tripped, rolled on the grass, and sometimes kicked the ball in completely random directions. At one moment, 10 Minions were all trying to kick the ball at once. The ball popped out from the crowd and rolled across the field. Instantly, the entire group chased after it again, like a chaotic yellow wave. Some Minions accidentally kicked their teammates. Others fell over and dragged their friends down with them. The field turned into complete chaos. After a long and exhausting match, the Minions were breathing heavily and lying all over the grass. Seeing that the game was impossible to control, Gru simply walked onto the field, picked up the soccer ball, and carried it away. The Minions watched him go, then slowly sat down on the ground, completely tired and out of breath. A moment later, they all looked at each other and started laughing. Even though the game had no goals, no rules, and no winner, it was still the most energetic soccer match the Minions had ever played.
The Mysterious Box 1. Afternoon in the laboratory of Gru, Dr. Nefario is organizing equipment on the lab table. On a high shelf sits a small metal box covered with warning symbols. After finishing his work, Dr. Nefario leaves the laboratory. As soon as the door closes, a group of Minions quietly sneaks inside. Bob notices the mysterious box on the shelf and points at it curiously. Kevin climbs onto a chair and then onto the table to bring the box down. The Minions gather around it. They shake it gently. A strange rattling sound comes from inside. Stuart tries to open the lid, but the box is locked. Kevin notices a small button on the side and presses it. Click. The box suddenly pops open. A large spring jumps out, making all the Minions jump back in surprise. They laugh when they realize it's just a prank box. But when they look inside again, there is another button. Bob presses it curiously. Suddenly, bubbles begin floating out of the box. Soap bubbles fill the laboratory. The Minions jump around popping the bubbles and laughing. But Stuart accidentally presses a large red button. The box begins shaking violently. The Minions look at each other nervously. Suddenly, the box opens again and launches a long mechanical arm. The arm swings wildly around the room, knocking over test tubes and lifting one Minion into the air. The Minions run everywhere in panic. The box continues releasing more surprises. Balloons pop out, a loud horn blares, and confetti shoots everywhere. The laboratory quickly turns into complete chaos. Just then, Gru walks into the room. He stops and stares at the scene. Minions running everywhere, balloons floating near the ceiling, confetti falling all over the lab. Gru looks down at the shaking box on the floor. He walks over and closes the lid. Everything immediately stops. The laboratory becomes quiet again. Behind him, the Minions burst into laughter. Banana Eating Contest. One afternoon in the recreation room, the Minions were sitting around with nothing to do when one of them rolled in a big box full of bananas. As soon as they saw the bananas, the whole group cheered with excitement. One Minion suddenly had an idea, a contest to see who could eat bananas the fastest. Within minutes, they set up a long table in the middle of the room. On the table were piles of bright yellow bananas stacked high. The Minions sat in a row, all eager and ready for the contest to begin. One Minion volunteered to be the referee. He raised his hand and shouted loudly, 3, 2, 1, go! Immediately, the Minions began peeling and eating bananas as fast as they could. Bananas disappeared quickly, leaving only peels flying everywhere. One Minion ate so fast that he almost choked, grabbing a glass of water to drink. Another Minion stuffed 2 bananas into his mouth at the same time, making his cheeks puff out like balloons. At one end of the table, a Minion was even stacking banana peels into a small tower while still eating more bananas. Soon, the pile of bananas on the table was almost completely gone. Then the Minions started holding their stomachs. Suddenly, one Minion ran toward the bathroom in a hurry. Immediately, several other Minions panicked and rushed after him. The group crowded in front of the bathroom door, everyone trying to get inside first. Just then, the door opened and Gru walked into the room. Seeing the chaotic scene, Gru sighed. He stepped out for a moment and came back with a box of medicine. Gru handed each Minion a pill and signaled for them to take it right away. The Minions obediently swallowed the medicine. After a short while, their stomach aches slowly disappeared. Everyone sat down and sighed with relief. One Minion noticed there were a few bananas left in the box. He slowly picked one up and looked around. The other Minions immediately shook their heads quickly. The room stayed quiet for a moment, and then everyone burst out laughing.
Holds up a messy blueprint. The others nod, even though they don't understand. One saws wood, crooked cuts. One hammers nails, hits his own hand. One attaches wings, upside down. One connects wires, sparks fly. The airplane frame slowly takes shape. Crooked, patched together, but somehow flyable. A Minion climbs into the cockpit, then puts on pilot goggles, then strikes a cool pose. Others spin the fans, then the engine rattles loudly. The plane shakes, then moves forward a few centimeters, then stops. They pause, thinking. One Minion gets an idea, attaches a bunch of extra fans all around. The plane vibrates violently, slowly lifts, hovers for a few seconds. The group jumps in celebration. Suddenly, one wing pops off. The plane spins wildly like a propeller. The pilot panics, wobbling uncontrollably. The plane circles the yard, chasing the Minions below. They scatter in chaos. One Minion gets pulled by the airflow, grabs onto the landing gear. Another tries to pull him down, gets dragged along. The plane bumps into a wall, bounces back, flies even higher. Chaos in the air, wings shaking, bolts falling, wires whipping around. Suddenly, everything shuts off. The plane drops. All Minions shut their eyes. Thud! The plane crashes, landing on a pile of old mattresses. Dust flies everywhere. Silence. One by one, Minions crawl out. Singed hair, messy faces. One raises a hand, thumbs up. They look at each other, then burst out laughing. The doctor's machine. A car moves slowly down a busy street. Inside, the doctor sits in the front, focused. 2 Minions bounce around in the back, restless and curious. The car suddenly slows. On the side of the road lies a massive, rugged wheel, thick, heavy, with deep treads like it belongs to a tank. The doctor's eyes widen. He points sharply. The 2 Minions jump out, struggle, slip, and grunt as they try to lift the enormous wheel. It's far too heavy. They try again, this time working together, wobbling, nearly dropping it, until finally they heave it into the car with a loud thud. Cut to the workshop. The wheel sits in the center of a chaotic lab filled with tools, wires, and half-built machines. The doctor presses a button. Robotic arms descend from above. Sparks fly. Metal pieces snap into place. Gears spin. panels clamp shut. The wheel becomes the core of a strange multi-machine. Part vehicle, part monster. The machine hums. It shakes. It comes alive. The doctor smiles. Cut to the street again. The minions clap, excited. Then, something glitches. The machine jerks. It spins faster. The control stops responding. The doctor presses buttons rapidly. Nothing. The machine bolts forward, out of control. They run off and return, dragging random objects. A chair, a teddy bear, a small table. They stack them in the machine's path. The machine smashes straight through. Wood splinters. The teddy bear goes flying. The doctor clenches his teeth. He runs forward and leaps, grabbing onto the machine as it speeds past. He climbs up, struggling to keep balance as it shakes violently. He reaches the top, pulls out tools, starts hitting, pulling wires, trying to shut it down. The machine spins harder, then gets violently thrown off, launched into the air, crashing down off-screen. The machine sits still, lifeless. The two minions slowly walk into frame, then both burst into laughter.
The giant popcorn machine one evening in the living room of Gru. A big TV is playing a movie while a group of minions sit on the couch, excited to watch. Bob holds a small bowl of popcorn. Within seconds, the minions begin grabbing handfuls, and the bowl quickly becomes empty. Suddenly, Kevin gets an idea. He runs into the lab and returns with a drawing labeled Giant Popcorn Machine. Within minutes, the living room turns into a chaotic construction site. Minions attach metal pipes, a giant pot, electrical wires, and even a huge fan. Stuart pours an entire bag of corn kernels into an enormous metal pot. The machine now looks like a giant metal monster standing in the middle of the living room. Kevin presses the start button. The machine begins heating up. The pot of kernels starts to shake slightly. One kernel suddenly pop! Then a few more kernels pop. Popcorn begins shooting through a pipe and falling neatly into a large container. But the machine starts shaking violently. A huge stream of popcorn blasts straight into the living room. Popcorn flies everywhere, onto the couch, the table, the walls, and the ceiling lights. The minions run around laughing while trying to grab popcorn. The machine spins further out of control. Popcorn shoots out like a snowstorm. Within seconds, the floor is completely covered. One minion jumps down and disappears into the pile of popcorn. Finally, boom! The lid of the giant pot blasts open, and a massive cloud of popcorn explodes across the room. At that moment, Gru walks in. In front of him stands an enormous mountain of popcorn, filling the entire room. A minion suddenly pops his head out of the popcorn pile, still chewing happily. Gru stands silently for a few seconds, then sighs.
Cooking machine. The scientist brings in a giant cooking machine, full of buttons, tubes, flashing lights. He puts in sample ingredients, then presses a button. The machine runs smoothly, produces a perfectly plated dish. Gru nods in approval, walks away. The scientist follows. The door closes. Minions peek out from everywhere. One minion approaches, stares at the control panel, curious. He presses a button. Beep. The machine opens. Another minion brings bananas, tosses them in. One adds hot sauce. Another throws in candy. They look at each other, nod, press. The machine shakes to spins to glows in many colors. The sounds grow stranger. A minion slowly opens the lid. A bizarre dish appears. Half liquid, half gummy, colors swirling. They stare, silence. One minion tastes it, face twists, then nods approvingly. The machine starts going out of control. Smoke rises to violent shaking to constant beeping. One pipe sprays green goo. Another hatch pops out purple mush. A minion gets splattered head to toe. The whole room becomes a food battlefield. One minion climbs on top, presses the biggest button. The machine stops. Silence. Everyone waits. Ding! The main door opens. A giant dish slides out. Weird shape, wobbling, constantly changing colors. They slowly approach. Curious. One minion pokes it. It jiggles wildly, bounces like jelly. It sticks to his face. Panic. Others try to pull it off. Get stuck too. Suddenly, the door opens. Gru and the scientist return. They see a wrecked lab, minions covered in food, machine smoking. Gru stands still. A minion offers a piece of the creation. Gru stares, hesitates, but takes a small bite. Silence. His face twitches. Then he swallows. Slowly, he gives a thumbs up. The minions cheer. Skipping work with clones. The room is filled with chores. Gru stands with his arms crossed, staring at the mess. The minions stand still. No one wants to work. An idea sparks. Clones. The plan begins. The minions rush into the lab. They create fake minions using balloons, fabric, fake goggles, even glued-on eyes. The result looks convincing from a distance. The perfect deception. They place the clones around the house. One minion mopping the floor, one sweeping, one holding tools. From afar, everything looks normal. Time to play. The real minions sneak away. They slide down the stairs, mess around in the kitchen, blast music, and dance wildly, enjoying their freedom. Something goes wrong. One fake minion starts losing air. Its head slowly deflates. Another stands completely still. Too still. One even has its head turned backward. Gru notices. Gru walks in. He pauses. Something feels off. He steps closer, reaches out. Pop! The minion bursts. Gru freezes, then slowly turns his head. The investigation begins. He checks each minion. One is soft and hollow. One collapses instantly. One falls over all of them. Fake. Gru gets angry. He turns on the surveillance cameras. On the screen, the minions playing wildly. The hunt. Gru heads straight to them. The minions are still having fun until they turn around and see Gru behind them. They scatter in all directions. Gru points. No words needed. The minions lower their heads. Punishment. Not just the original chores. They must also clean up the fake clones, fix everything they damaged, redo all the work.
DIY car. Race one morning in the yard of Gru. A group of minions are gathered around a pile of household items. A vacuum cleaner, cooking pots, electric fans, an office chair, toy wheels, and many random tools. Kevin holds up a rough drawing of a homemade race car. The minions immediately become excited. Within moments, the yard turns into a chaotic workshop. One minion attaches wheels to an office chair, turning it into a racing vehicle. Stuart ties a vacuum cleaner to the back to act as the engine. Bob puts a metal pot on his head as a helmet. Soon, 3 strange vehicles are ready. The first vehicle, an office chair with an electric fan mounted on the back. The second vehicle, a vacuum cleaner pulling a small cart. The third vehicle, a car made from a shopping cart and a metal pot. Kevin raises a cloth like a starting flag. The minions take their positions. The flag drops. The 3 vehicles shoot forward and race out of the yard onto the city streets. The office chair car moves the fastest. But when it takes a turn, the wheels spin wildly, and the minion driving it spins around like a top. The vacuum-powered vehicle suddenly switches to strong suction mode. It sucks up a newspaper, a hat, and even the pants of a minion running behind it. Meanwhile, Bob drives the shopping cart car. The cart shakes violently as it hits bumps in the road, making the pot on Bob's head ring clang-clang. The race quickly turns into complete chaos. Bob tries to brake, but the shopping cart keeps rolling downhill and crashes straight into a pile of trash cans. Crash! All 3 vehicles eventually slide and stop right in front of Gru's house. The minions lie stacked on top of each other, covered with leaves, newspapers, and pot lids. Just then, Gru walks out the door. He looks at the scene. Household items scattered everywhere, 3 broken homemade vehicles, and minions lying all over the yard. Gru stands still for a few seconds. Behind him, the vacuum cleaner is still running and is slowly sucking up one of Gru's socks. Gru sighs.
One morning in the yard of Gru, one minion looks at himself in the mirror, smooths his tiny hair strands, and suddenly gets an idea. He quickly places the chair in the middle of the yard and hangs up a handwritten sign. The other minions curiously line up. The first customer is Kevin. He confidently sits in the chair. Kevin's hair turns into messy, sharp spikes, sticking out in all directions. Kevin looks into the mirror, pauses in surprise, then bursts into laughter. The next customer is Stuart. The Minion barber uses a hairdryer, gel, and a comb. Within minutes, Stuart ends up with a tall, tower-like hairstyle. When the wind blows, the hair wobbles like an antenna. All the Minions laugh loudly. Bob is the next customer. The barber accidentally drops a bottle of hair dye. Blue, red, and yellow colors spill onto Bob's head. After wiping it off, Bob ends up with a bright rainbow hairstyle. Bob looks in the mirror and jumps happily because he loves it. News about the salon spreads. A few neighbors curiously come over to try it. The Minion barber begins creating even more creative styles. One person gets spring-shaped curly hair, another gets a star-shaped haircut. Someone else gets hair styled like a crown. The salon becomes extremely lively. Hair flies everywhere, the hair dryer blows loudly, and scissors keep snipping non-stop. Just then, Gru walks in. He looks around at the room filled with falling hair and bizarre hairstyles. The Minions quickly pull Gru into the barber chair. The Minion barber immediately starts cutting. A few minutes later, Gru looks into the mirror. His hair has been styled into small crown-like spikes. Gru stands still for a few seconds. The Minions nervously wait for his reaction. Gru looks at himself in the mirror, then slightly smirks. The entire salon bursts into cheerful laughter. Searching for a lost item living room. Gru stands in the middle, checking his pockets, then pauses. He looks around. Something important is missing. He signals. The Minions instantly gather. Gru gestures the size and shape. The Minions nod, each understanding something different. The search begins. One group looks under the sofa, pulls out random stuff, socks, toys, old bananas. One crawls all the way in, gets stuck. Two others pull him out. Another group climbs shelves, knocks everything down. One Minion gets buried under the pile. One uses a magnifying glass, examines closely, too close, bumps into the table. Another group uses a vacuum, sucks up everything, even unrelated items. One Minion gets stuck in the hose. One draws a search map, messy scribbles. The group follows the wrong direction. Chaos everywhere. Gru grows impatient, crosses arms, stares intensely. One Minion notices a clue. A small string leading outside. They follow it. Out in the yard? The trail disappears. One Minion spots disturbed sand, starts digging. Digging deeper, pulls out a pile of random junk. Not the item. Everyone is disappointed. A small Minion stands still, thinking. He goes back inside, looks around carefully, climbs onto a table, looks from above. His eyes stop on Gru. He walks over, points at Gru's pocket. Gru is confused, checks it. He pulls out the missing item. Silence. All Minions freeze. Gru freezes too. 1 second. Then everyone points at Gru. Gru looks around, slightly embarrassed. One Minion pats his shoulder. Everyone bursts out laughing. Ice cream day, scorching sun. The Minions lie sprawled all over the yard. Stuart fans himself with a newspaper. Bob hugs a melting ice block. Kevin lies flat, exhausted. The sound of an ice cream truck bell rings. The whole group instantly jumps up, eyes wide open. An ice cream truck passes by on the street. They all immediately dash after it. The Minions run in chaos. One slips and causes a chain reaction, knocking everyone down. Kevin runs ahead, then realizes no one is keeping up. Stuart jumps on a bicycle. The chain snaps, but he keeps pedaling wildly. The truck drives through a busy street. Minions weave through the crowd, crashing into a food cart and sending food flying everywhere. One grabs a skateboard, speeds ahead, then crashes into a trash can. Bob manages to grab onto the truck, gets dragged along, and pulls several other Minions behind him. The truck passes through a park. One Minion uses a swing to launch himself but lands in a bush. Two use a seesaw to fling each other. One slams into the truck's window. Kevin jumps onto the back of the truck and helps the others climb up. The door opens, and the whole group floods inside. Ice cream is grabbed non-stop, eaten and thrown everywhere. The ice cream machine is turned on, spraying cream all over. Bob eats too fast and grabs his head from the brain freeze. One minion climbs into the freezer and comes out frozen stiff. Kevin gets completely covered in ice cream. The truck stops. The door opens. Gru steps out. He looks at the chaotic mess inside. Minions are covered in ice cream. One is stuck in the machine. Gru stands still, sighs. One minion offers Gru an ice cream. Gru takes it. The whole group watches. Banana tree climbing contest backyard. A tall banana tree stands in the middle, a bright yellow bunch hanging at the top. Minions gather around, eyes shining. One minion steps forward, ties a headband, signals competition. The crowd cheers. A rough starting line is drawn on the ground. All minions line up, tense. The signal starts. They rush toward the banana tree. Instantly, they slide down. The trunk is too slippery. They try again. Hug tightly. Slip. Climb fast. Slip even harder. One minion uses a rope, wraps it around the trunk, climbs by pulling. Halfway up, the rope loosens, falls, dragging two others down. Another wears gloves, grips better, but the gloves tear. One brings glue, sticks his hands to the tree, climbs a bit, then gets stuck, unable to move. A group comes up with a plan. Stack on top of each other. A minion tower rises, wobbling, almost reaches the top, then collapses. One uses a ladder, sets it up. Halfway up, the ladder slides, crashes sideways. Another uses a fan, tries to fly up, gets blown backward, flips in the air. Chaos everywhere. A small minion stands aside, thinking. He pulls a piece of cloth, wraps it around the trunk, creates friction, then starts climbing, step by step, slow but steady. Everyone stops, watching. The small minion climbs higher, almost reaching the bananas. Another minion notices, quickly climbs up, pulls his leg. They struggle. Both slide down together. Chaos resumes. Suddenly, one minion gets launched upward from a collision, flies near the top. He grabs the banana bunch, falls down. Everyone rushes in. The bunch gets pulled back and forth, then drops. The same small minion picks it up. Everyone freezes. The small minion looks at them.
The Minion cloning machine. In the laboratory of Gru, Dr. Nefario pushes in a large machine covered with a cloth. He pulls the cloth away, revealing a strange device filled with wires and blinking lights. One minion is placed inside. The machine shakes, lights flash rapidly, and poof! The door opens. Two identical minions step out. Gru crosses his arms and watches, clearly satisfied. The two new minions immediately start doing housework. One minion mops the floor at lightning speed, leaving it sparkling clean. The other washes dishes, but soap bubbles fly everywhere. Gru sits comfortably reading a newspaper, nodding happily as the chores get done faster. Dr. Nefario, excited, walks to the control panel and turns a large dial to a higher level. The machine begins to shake violently. A flood of minions pours out like a broken dam. Dozens of minions run everywhere. Some slip on the soapy floor and crash into each other in a rolling pile. Others climb onto the ceiling lights and swing like monkeys. Another group runs circles around the lab table. The chaos quickly spreads through the house. One group of minions races around the living room, riding vacuum cleaners. Another group opens the fridge, grabbing bananas and tossing them to each other while eating wildly. On the sofa, several minions jump and dance crazily. Gru tries to grab one minion, but the moment he turns around, three more dash past his legs. Dr. Nefario suddenly gets an idea. He throws a banana into the machine. The control panel lights up and switches to reverse mode. The machine emits a powerful beam of light and begins pulling everything toward it. The minions running everywhere suddenly notice the banana inside the machine and rush toward it. The suction pulls them backward through the air. One minion riding a skateboard is lifted off and sucked straight into the machine. Another minion eating a banana gets dragged along with it. One by one, dozens of minions fly through the air and disappear into the machine. The machine slowly quiets down. The door opens again. Only one minion steps out, looking around in confusion.
Minion color-changing machine. Inside the laboratory of Gru, Dr. Nefario has just finished building a color-changing machine. The device has a round glass chamber in the center and many flashing colored lights. A group of minions gather around, watching curiously. Dr. Nefario places a banana inside the chamber to test the machine. He presses a button. The lights flash. When the chamber opens, the banana has turned bright green. The minions stare in amazement. Satisfied, Dr. Nefario nods and leaves the laboratory to get more equipment. As soon as he leaves, the minions look at the machine excitedly. Kevin steps inside the chamber first. Stuart presses the button. The lights flash again. The door opens, and Kevin walks out with blue skin. The minions laugh even louder and begin taking turns changing colors. Green, orange, pink, and even one minion who comes out covered in rainbow colors. Soon, the entire laboratory is filled with minions of every color. But when Kevin tries pressing the button again to change back to yellow, the machine suddenly makes an error beep. The screen flickers and shuts off. The minions look at each other. They are all still stuck with their strange colors. Panic begins. One minion runs to the bathroom and grabs soap and a brush, trying to scrub the color off his body. Nothing changes. Another minion jumps into a water tub, rubbing and washing himself. The color stays the same. At that moment, Dr. Nefario returns. He looks at the scene and immediately understands what happened. He begins repairing the control panel while Gru helps reconnect wires and adjust the machine parts. After a moment, the machine starts working again. Dr. Nefario signals the minions to step into the chamber one by one. Each minion enters and comes out again, returning to their normal yellow color. The group sighs with relief.
The day without bananas. One morning in the kitchen of Gru, a group of minions gather in front of the refrigerator. Bob excitedly opens the fridge to grab his usual breakfast. Inside, nothing. No bananas. Bob blinks a few times and checks again. Still nothing. He looks at Kevin in confusion. Kevin checks the other shelves in the refrigerator, then even the freezer. Still no bananas. The minions stand frozen for a few seconds, then panic. One minion faints. Another runs in circles holding his head. Stuart opens every kitchen cabinet, pulls out all the drawers, and even checks the microwave. There are no bananas anywhere. Kevin decides to lead the group out to search for bananas. Only a few minutes later, a whole crowd of minions is running all over the city. Their first stop is the supermarket. The minions rush to the fruit section, but only find apples, oranges, and watermelons. One minion picks up a watermelon, stares at it carefully, then sadly shakes his head. They run to a bakery next. Bob sees a cake shaped like a banana and quickly takes a bite, but it is only cream inside. He makes a disappointed face. At a juice stand, Stuart sees a yellow smoothie and drinks it in one gulp, then realizes it's mango juice. The whole group looks disappointed again. On the sidewalk, a minion suddenly notices a giant banana advertisement. All the minions rush toward it, hugging the poster and trying to, bite it. They continue searching everywhere. Parks, street food carts, even garbage bins behind restaurants. Finally, the group sits down on the sidewalk, exhausted. Just then, a banana delivery truck drives past. The smell of bananas spreads through the air. The minions instantly jump up with sparkling eyes. They chase after the truck and climb into the back of it. Inside, the truck are huge piles of bananas. The minions hug bananas, eat bananas, and throw bananas into the air with joy.
Sneakily swapping the TV remote living room. The TV is on. Gru sits watching seriously. The three girls beside him, minions sprawled across the floor. One minion holds the remote, rapidly switching channels to action. Sports, cartoons, flicker non-stop. Gru gets annoyed and snatches the remote back. The minion quietly retreats. He pulls out an identical-looking remote. He scans the room, grins mischievously. He sneaks behind the sofa, swaps Gru's remote with the fake one, then lies down, pretending to watch. Gru presses. Nothing happens. Presses harder. Still nothing. In a corner, another minion holds the real remote, presses a button. The TV instantly changes channels. Gru is startled, looks at the remote in his hand, presses again. Nothing. From another spot, the minion presses again. The TV changes. Gru snaps his head toward the screen, confused. The three girls start getting puzzled, looking between Gru and the TV. Gru stands up, walks closer, presses firmly. Still nothing. Behind him, a minion presses. The TV turns off. Gru spins around, irritated. Another minion grabs the real remote, presses rapidly. The TV jumps channels wildly. Another snatches it, switches to music. Another switches to a horror movie. The TV keeps switching frantically. The three girls flinch, cover ears, move aside. Gru charges in to grab the remote. The minions scatter, running around the room. One slips, the remote flies into the air. Everyone looks up. It falls. Gru catches it. Silence. Gru breathes heavily, slowly presses a button. The TV turns off. Everyone breathes a sigh of relief. Lost in the desert, in the middle of a vast desert, blazing sun, endless rimmel of sand, Gru and the minions stand there, confused. One minion opens a map, flips it around, still clueless. Another points randomly, everyone nods, and starts walking. After a few steps, they loop back to the same spot. The heat intensifies. Minions grow exhausted, tongues out, stumbling. One minion looks ahead, sees a mirage, water, trees, bananas. Eyes light up. He runs toward it. The whole group follows. They arrive. Nothing but sand. Everyone collapses. One minion starts digging, searching for water. Deeper, deeper. Suddenly the sand collapses. He's buried halfway. Another pulls him out. Both roll over. One minion uses a magnifying glass, focuses sunlight, tries to start a fire. A flame sparks, then burns his own hat. Everyone runs in circles, putting it out. Gru pauses, thinking. He takes off his coat, sets up a small shade. Minions rush in, too crowded, pushing each other out. One minion holds the last bottle of water. Everyone stares. He trembles, about to drink. Suddenly, a lizard runs by. He flinches, drops the bottle. The bottle rolls, spills into the sand. Panic, everyone digs frantically. Nothing. Silence. A small minion looks up, sees a bird circling. He points. Everyone follows the bird's direction. They walk. Suddenly wind rises. Sand blows everywhere. A sandstorm. They panic, cover faces, huddle together. Gru pulls them behind a rock. The storm passes. Sand covers everything. As it settles, in front of them appears a small drink cart. Everyone freezes. One minion walks up, touches it. It's real. They cheer, rush in, drink water. Fully refreshed. Gru sighs in relief.
The mysterious beast in Gru's house. Inside the laboratory of Gru, it's a quiet morning. The minions are doing small chores. One minion is mopping the floor, another is stacking bananas into a tall tower, while Bob is hugging a banana that is bigger than his head. A mysterious creature stumbles out from behind a work table. Its head is completely covered by a metal bucket, so it cannot see where it's going. Only two small legs and flapping wings can be seen as it moves around blindly. It crashes straight into a cabinet. Bang! Test tubes and bottles fall and scatter across the floor. The minions freeze and stare at the strange monster. Kevin quickly signals for everyone to surround it. The chaotic chase begins. Stuart runs forward with a bug-catching net, but slips on a banana peel, spinning around before falling flat. Bob throws a cardboard box to trap the creature, but accidentally drops it over Kevin's head instead. Another minion tries to block the path, but gets bumped in the stomach and flies backward into the wall. The strange creature keeps running wildly around the base. It knocks over a shelf, then rushes into the living room and slams into the sofa, flipping it over. The entire place turns into chaos. Minions run everywhere, slipping on banana peels, crashing into each other, and falling in a domino-like chain. At that moment, Dr. Nefario walks into the room holding a device. He stops and looks at the scene. Broken furniture, minions scattered across the floor, and a mysterious creature with a bucket on its head running in circles. Calmly, he raises a net gun. The creature runs past. Whoosh! The net shoots out and captures the creature completely. It struggles for a moment and then stops moving. The minions slowly gather around it, curious. Kevin carefully lifts the metal bucket. Underneath is a chicken. The chicken blinks a few times and clucks softly while still tangled in the net. The minions stare silently for a moment, then suddenly burst into laughter. Inside the laboratory of Gru, Dr. Nefario is working on a complicated machine. The minions gather around, curiously watching the sparks and bubbling test tubes. Among them, Stuart watches Dr. Nefario with admiration. Dr. Nefario presses the final button. The machine makes a bzzz sound and works perfectly. The minions clap excitedly. Inspired, Stuart suddenly gets an idea. He puts on oversized safety goggles, wears a white lab coat, and stands proudly in front of a small work table. The scientist minion begins inventing. First invention, a banana peeling machine. Stuart places a banana into the machine and presses the button. The machine shakes violently, gears spinning wildly. Then it shoots the banana out like a rocket, hitting another minion straight in the face. The room is suddenly splattered with mashed banana. Stuart calmly writes notes in a small notebook. Second invention, a brain-boosting helmet made from a metal pot and wires. Stuart puts the helmet on his head and presses a button. The helmet begins vibrating. Stuart's hair stands up from the electricity while the minions stare in amazement. Suddenly, the helmet shoots electric sparks into the laboratory control panel. All the machines in the lab suddenly activate at once. Mixers spin wildly. The cleaning robot runs out of control, and the banana conveyor belt starts moving. The laboratory quickly turns into total chaos. Bananas fly everywhere. Minions slip on banana peels and crash into each other. A vacuum robot even sucks up a minion's lab coat. At that moment, Dr. Nefario walks into the room. He freezes when he sees the chaotic scene. Machines running everywhere, minions covered in bananas, and Stuart standing in the middle wearing the vibrating invention helmet. Dr. Nefario calmly walks over and pulls the main power plug. All the machines instantly shut down. The laboratory becomes silent, but completely destroyed.
Drawing contest. The living room is turned into an art arena. Canvases, paint, brushes everywhere. Gru stands in front, arms crossed. The three girls sit as judges. One minion steps forward, wears a headband, raises a sign. Drawing contest. Everyone cheers. Each minion gets a canvas. They take their positions, tense. Start signal. They all draw like crazy. One paints super fast. Colors spill outside the lines. One overthinks, still blank. One uses hands, smears paint everywhere. One minion draws a banana, fills the whole page yellow. Another draws Gru, but it looks oddly distorted. One minion cheats, peeks at others, copies, gets caught. They fight over the canvas. One uses a ruler, very professional. Another uses a fan, blows paint everywhere. Paint starts flying, on faces, walls, each other. One minion gets too excited, spills a whole bucket of paint. The floor becomes slippery, several slip, domino chaos. One gets an idea, dips his whole body in paint, rolls onto the canvas, creates an abstract masterpiece. Others copy, rolling, sliding, crashing, total chaos. Gru watches. A drop of paint lands on his face. Time's up. Everyone stops. Each minion presents their artwork. Messy, smeared, bizarre shapes. The three girls walk around judging, nodding, reacting. In a corner, a small minion shows a simple drawing, a banana, and the group standing together. The room quiets. The girls smile, raise a winner sign. All minions look, then look at their own drawings. 1 second of silence, then they all clap and laugh together. Suddenly, one minion slips, crashes into a paint bucket. Paint splashes everywhere, covering all the artworks. Final shot, everyone looks at the ruined paintings, then at each other, and bursts into chaotic laughter again.
Minions as painters. One morning in front of the house of Gru. The walls of the house are old, and the paint is peeling. Nearby are several buckets of paint in bright colors. Red, blue, yellow, and purple. A group of minions stand around wearing safety helmets and holding paintbrushes. Gru stands at the door, looking at the worn-out wall. He points at the house, signaling that the entire place needs to be repainted. The minions nod excitedly. One minion swings his brush too hard and splashes paint onto the window. Another minion tries to clean the window, using a paintbrush, which quickly turns the glass into a big blue patch. In the yard, Stuart is painting the fence when he slips slightly, and his roller accidentally paints the trunk of a nearby tree. Seeing the colored tree, other minions think it's a new idea and immediately start painting more colors on the trunk and branches. Soon, the tree looks like a giant, colorful candy stick. Meanwhile, Kevin is still trying to keep the wall neat. But below him, Bob accidentally knocks over a bucket of yellow paint. The paint spreads across the ground. A minion slips on the puddle and slides straight into Kevin, causing Kevin's brush to drag a long streak of paint from the wall onto Stuart's face. Stuart freezes for a moment with paint all over him. Then he quickly retaliates by brushing paint onto another minion. Within seconds, a paint fight begins. Paintbrushes swing everywhere. Rollers spin across the yard. One minion even jumps into a paint bucket and runs around leaving colorful footprints behind. Another minion accidentally drops a paint bucket from the ladder. The paint splashes down, creating a giant colorful patch on the wall. Seeing that, a few minions start adding shapes, swirls, dots, and long streaks. Within moments, the wall of the house turns into a giant, chaotic painting full of colors. Minions covered in paint from head to toe. And the house now looks like a huge, abstract artwork, Gru size, while the minions continue happily running around the yard, leaving paint marks everywhere.
The giant sandcastle won. Sunny day at the beach. The minions were running around and playing in the sand. One minion suddenly sat down, scooped up some sand, and began building a small sandcastle. Another minion saw this and decided to build a bigger one to compete. Soon, more minions joined in, and just like that, a sandcastle building contest began. At first, the castles were just small towers, but each minion wanted their creation to be bigger and more impressive than the others. One minion started digging a moat around his castle. Another built a tall watchtower. Some minions used seashells and small stones to decorate the walls. As they kept working, the structures became larger and larger. The smaller castles gradually connected together, turning into a massive sand fortress with many towers, walls, and even a large gate. The minions stood around their creation, feeling very proud of what they had built. Just then, one minion suddenly heard the sound of a large wave coming closer. Everyone turned toward the ocean. A big wave was rushing toward the shore. The minions panicked and tried to block the water with their hands and buckets of sand, but it was too late. Whoosh! The wave crashed onto the beach and washed away the entire giant sand fortress in just a few seconds. When the water receded, the beach was left with nothing but a flat pile of sand. The minions stood quietly for a moment, staring at the place where their great construction once stood. Then, one minion picked up a bucket of sand and began building a small sand castle again. The other minions looked at each other, then burst out laughing and joined him to start building all over again.
The Speed Booster Machine. Inside the laboratory of Jiru, Dr. Nefario is testing a new invention, a Speed Booster Machine. The device looks like a ray gun, connected to a control panel filled with buttons and gauges. Several curious minions gather around to watch. Dr. Nefario places a stopwatch on the table and fires the device at a small testing robot. Buzz! The robot suddenly runs many times faster, zooming around the table before stopping. The minions clap excitedly. After writing down some notes, Dr. Nefario leaves the laboratory. Immediately, Stuart grabs the speed ray. He aims it at Kevin. Easy up! Kevin instantly starts running as fast as lightning around the room. He dashes past tables, jumps over chairs, and slides around machines. But Kevin cannot stop. Kevin runs straight through the lab door. The other minions race after him. They burst out onto the street. Pedestrians jump in shock as yellow blurs rush past them. One minion runs through a fruit stand, sending apples and oranges flying into the air. Another minion zips past a street food cart, causing it to tilt sideways. Kevin runs through a banana stand, spilling bananas all over the road. Meanwhile, Gru and Dr. Nefario chase behind them. They try to clean up the mess, lifting fallen carts, picking up fruit, and helping startled vendors stand up again. The minions keep racing around the neighborhood like spinning yellow tornadoes. Finally, Finally, Dr. Nefario grabs the speed ray and adjusts the control settings. He aims at Kevin. This time, the beam removes the speed effect. Kevin suddenly stops. But because he was moving so fast, he slides a long distance across the street. The other minions are also hit by the ray and gradually stop. They end up lying all over the street, panting and dizzy. Gru looks around at the scene. Fruit scattered everywhere, street carts leaning sideways, and a few minions spinning in circles from dizziness. Gru crosses his arms and looks at Dr. Nefario. Dr. Nefario looks at the machine and gives an awkward smile. The two of them begin helping clean up the chaotic street.
Fighting over the last banana kitchen. A plate of bananas sits on the table. Gru is in the distance. The three girls are busy. Minions gather around. One minion reaches for the last banana. Another instantly grabs it too. They freeze, each holding one end. Tense eye contact. They start pulling, gently at first, then harder. The banana bends but doesn't break. A third minion jumps in, grabs the middle. Now it's a three-way tug of war. Another sneaks behind, tries to take a bite. The others notice, yank hard, nearly knock him over. The group starts pulling back and forth, slipping, bumping into the table, almost knocking the plate down. One clever minion grabs a rope, ties it to the banana, pulls from afar like fishing. Another climbs on a cabinet, jumps down to snatch it. One wears a helmet, charges in like a warrior. The banana gets pulled upward, then drops. Everyone dives after it like a ball. It rolls across the floor. Minions slide, crash into each other. One finally grabs it, runs away. The others chase. He slips. The banana flies into the air. Slow motion, all minions jump to grab it. It falls, landing on the head of a small minion who wasn't involved. The small minion looks confused, holding the banana. Everyone freezes. The small minion slowly peels it, takes a bite. Everyone gasps. Before anyone reacts, the small minion splits the banana into small pieces, hands one to each minion. The group calms down, each holding a piece. They eat, then look at each other. 1 second of silence, then everyone laughs, patting each other. In the distance, Gru turns back. A fresh bunch of bananas appears on the table. All minions turn their heads. Eyes light up. Final shot. The whole group charges again. Chaos begins anew.
The time travel machine. Inside the laboratory of Dr. Nefario, a large machine with several metal rings and tangled wires is being assembled. Dr. Nefario proudly pulls down a board showing drawings of clocks and timelines. He presses the start button. The metal rings on the machine begin spinning, glowing with a bright blue light. Just then, Gru walks into the lab. He looks at the machine suspiciously. While Dr. Nefario is busy adjusting the control panel, one curious minion pulls a large lever. Suddenly, the machine shakes violently. A blinding flash of light fills the room. A swirling vortex of energy appears and pulls Gru and the minions into it. Gru and the minions fall onto the ground in the middle of a vast prehistoric jungle. Giant trees and enormous ferns tower above them. The air is filled with strange insect sounds. Gru looks around in confusion. At that moment, a loud roar echoes through the jungle. A large carnivorous dinosaur appears in the distance and begins charging straight toward them. Gru quickly grabs the minions and runs. A wild chase begins. Gru and the minions sprint through the jungle, sliding down dirt slopes and squeezing between giant tree trunks. One minion climbs onto the back of the long-necked dinosaur to escape, but gets tossed off and lands in a bush. While running, Gru spots the time machine lying in a clearing nearby. He rushes toward it and tries to reactivate the control panel. The minions scramble around, pulling wires and turning gears as Gru gestures urgently. The carnivorous dinosaur gets closer and closer. It roars loudly right behind them. Just in time, the machine lights up again. A swirling portal opens. Gru quickly pushes the minions into the portal one by one. In a flash, they all tumble back into the laboratory. Everything suddenly becomes quiet again, as if nothing had happened. Gru sighs in relief.
Treasure hunt. An old map lies on the table. Gru unfolds it. Minions gather around, eyes wide. The scientist examines it, nodding. The group gets ready. Minions wear backpacks, carry shovels. Gru holds the map, pointing forward. In the jungle, minions dig one spot, nothing. Dig another, only rocks. They keep digging, holes everywhere. Gru studies the map, turning around. Minions run in the wrong directions. The scientist uses a detector. It beeps wildly. Minions dig frantically. They uncover an old pot. The group collapses, exhausted, sitting on the ground. One minion accidentally steps on the X mark. Gru looks down, eyes widen, points at the ground. Everyone digs like crazy. Sand flies everywhere. Clank! A shovel hits something hard. A chest pops up. They freeze, staring. Gru opens the lid. A golden glow shines out. Inside, bananas filled to the top. Minions' eyes light up. They jump in, grabbing and eating. Gru stands still for a moment, looks at the bananas, looks back at the map. The scientist reopens the map. Close up, the treasure symbol equals a banana. Gru sighs, picks up a banana. Minions behind him dance and celebrate. Gru peels it, takes a bite. He peels it, takes a big bite, chews happily, and nods in satisfaction. A nearby minion notices. Its eyes light up. It rushes over, grabs another banana from the table. Quickly peels it, stuffs it into its mouth, copying him. The two eat side by side, having a great time. Suddenly, the minion's banana starts making a hiss sound. The minion freezes, eyes wide open. Boom! The banana explodes right in its face. Smoke fills the air. The minion stands still. Face charred black, hair sticking straight up. Two round white eyes blink through the smoke. Gru turns to look, then bursts out laughing. The other minions around also collapse in laughter, rolling on the floor.
The ice cream chase. One hot afternoon in front of the house of Gru, a group of minions are lying around in the yard, trying to escape the heat. Stuart fans himself with a newspaper, while Bob hugs a melting block of ice. Suddenly, the familiar jingle of an ice cream truck rings in the distance. The minions instantly lift their heads. At the end of the street, a colorful ice cream truck drives by. The side window is open, revealing rows of bright, delicious ice cream bars. The minions' eyes light up. The truck passes by and keeps driving away. The minions freeze for 1 second, then they all sprint after it. The chase begins. Kevin leads the group as they run down the sidewalk. One minion slips on a banana peel and falls, but quickly jumps up and keeps running. Stuart jumps onto an abandoned bicycle by the street and pedals furiously. The ice cream truck turns into a crowded street. The minions weave through people. One minion leaps over a fruit stand. Another accidentally ends up with a decorative ice cream container stuck on his head. Bob jumps onto a child's scooter and rolls down a hill. The ice cream truck continues past a park. The minions race across the grass, jump over benches, and slide down a playground slide. Stuart pedals the bicycle too fast and launches straight through a sandbox. Kevin spots the ice cream truck slowing down near an intersection. The minions speed up, but the traffic light turns red and the truck drives through the crossing. The minions are forced to stop in the middle of the road. One minion accidentally crashes into a traffic pole. As soon as the light turns green, they continue the chase. They climb onto a moving delivery truck carrying cardboard boxes. From the truck, the minions jump down onto the back of the ice cream truck. The back door swings open. Inside is a freezer full of ice cream. The minions cheer with joy, grabbing ice cream, eating it, and throwing it into the air. Just then, the ice cream truck suddenly stops. The front door opens. Stepping out is Gru. He walks to the back and looks inside the truck. The minions sit in the middle of the ice cream freezer, their faces covered in colorful melted ice cream. Gru stands silently for a few seconds. A scoop of ice cream drops, splat onto his shoe. Gru sighs. Behind him, Bob accidentally knocks over a giant tub of ice cream onto the truck floor.